Hi, I'm JoAnne Kosey, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Coffee with Kosey. My guest today is probably the busiest man in the world right now, Santa Claus. Oh, I just love when he does that. Santa, welcome to RB, welcome to RB TV, and welcome to Coffee with Kosey.
Thank you very much.
You know, I have to ask you, if you're here, who's back at the North Pole?
Well, you have Mrs. Claus, you have all my elves that help, and you have my reindeer.
Uh-huh. Is it true that Mrs. Claus's real name is Christmas Carol?
Yes, it is.
I never knew that,
Christmas
and I
Carol.
heard that.
So instead of me yelling, Mrs. Claus, is it time to eat yet? No, I say Carol.
Uh-huh.
But the elves call her Mrs. Claus out of
Oh,
respect.
of course, yes. All kids, all little people should be respectful.
Everybody should be respectful.
Yes.
Because I know who's been naughty or nice.
Well, I think I've been good. I hope I've been good. You know, you probably don't remember me, but I used to come and see you every year and sit on your lap and always ask for a doll.
Yes, you and about 500 other little girls asked for a doll.
And you know, I still have those dolls, so thank you for bringing them.
And now they're collectibles.
Yes, they are.
So.
Yes, they are, and I appreciate it very much. What are some of the big toys that kids are asking for now?
Oh, well, that's a very difficult question to answer. And the reason why, Santa is an old timer, and he's not that proficient with the new technology toys. In fact, there's many, many times when I have an elf with me, the elf is more knowledgeable than I am, and they explain what an iPod is, or a special type of cell phone, or a special type of video game, okay? And usually they handle that kind of situation. Years and years and years ago, back in the 1950s and early 60s, I couldn't remember many children, little boys would ask for Walt Disney, Davy Crockett coonskin cap, and they used to have the rifle, and then the Alamo. Do you remember when you were a little girl, the Alamo,
Yes.
when you were a youngster? And then there was one boy who was very, very much into a television series called Zorro, Walt Disney Zorro. And we manufactured the toy that was the sword that Zorro would fight with, and you could attach a piece of chalk to it, okay? Because Zorro always meant the V as in Zorro, okay? Well, I got so many letters. See, back in those days, we didn't have emails. We had letters. Remember the postal service?
Yeah,
okay.
you used to Santa
Do you remember
North
when
Pole.
we used to get mail twice a day?
Yes.
Well, at the North Pole, I get it about 20 times a day. But we got letters from parents who were not happy with the elves or Santa because you never give a little boy a sword with toy sword, plastic, with a piece of chalk, because there were V's all over the neighborhood. So, but those were big sellers.
And then, of course, from the movie The Christmas Story.
Red Ryder rifles, that was also, but that was back more in the 40s.
Because you could shoot your eye out.
Yes, you could, and you had a special adhesive so you could stick your tongue against the cold metal surface of the lamppost and not get stuck. Did you know that?
No, but I will tell you, Santa, when I was teaching school, one of my students did stick his tongue on the flagpole.
And what happened?
Well, you know, he was the kind of kid where I thought to myself...
I bet he never talked back to you.
No, I was thinking of leaving him there until the spring thaw. But I didn't think his mother'd like it, so we just poured some warm water. And as a matter of fact, I just saw him again the other day and reminded him of him doing that.
And what did he say?
He looked pretty sheepish, and he says, "Are you sure it wasn't my brother?" But I knew it was him. Yeah, my brother had one of those BB guns.
I bet there weren't too many windows in the neighborhood.
Well, he used to shoot things in the back, and then one day I didn't run up the stairs fast enough.
And
Mom took the gun away from him.
I could understand why. Was he on my naughty boy list?
Yes. Yes, he was.
And what was his first name?
Joseph.
Joseph.
But then he must have been good because then you brought him his train set.
Lionel?
Yep, you brought him his Lionel.
Yes. Big seller back in those days.
And then you also brought him an erector set.
Yes, the metal erector sets. Those are all handled by the elves. I don't have that much to do with the actual manufacture of the toys at the North Pole. Those are done to the elves.
They must be very, very busy.
Oh, we're getting extremely busy right now.
Do they behave themselves?
Yes, very much. I have no problems with my elves. They're very obedient, and most of my elves are from Scandinavian, Northern European ancestry. Very diligent, very hard workers, and very obedient.
No time out for elves.
Well, they have to have a break.
Yeah, but
union
I mean,
contract says I have to give them a break.
Your elves are union?
Yes.
Oh,
not the Confederate Union.
Okay.
And they have to have a break. I mean, I'm not a slave driver up there, but no. In fact, if memory serves me correctly, you might know 3 of my elves. Do the names Hard Rock, Coco, and Joe?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
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 And then you've got some bigger elves here, Brian Brennan and David Moravicek.
Yes, those are my mischievous elves.
Yes, they are.
They're good, clean fun,
yes.
But they are mischievous.
But they do a lot of good work for the Riverside Chamber of Commerce.
Very much so, very much so.
And they told me to put in a good word for them.
I don't
Brian, we'll have to work on that. Brian's
we'll
work
on him a little bit, yes, definitely.
And Dave keeps very busy.
Yes.
And I understand that you're going to, one of the big things that you do every year and you take time for is the Riverside Holiday Stroll.
Yes, I do, very much. I get to ride on the fire truck.
Yep, you come down Burlington on the fire truck.
Yes, and that one year I almost came down because the driver hit the brake and Santa went like that.
Ooh, that would have been bad.
Well, it's one of the reasons I have all this padding. But it's real.
No pillows. Well, you have to eat all those cookies when you go to people's houses.
Oh, yes, and the children are very, very diligent. Last year I asked for a specific cookie, and again, because I asked for the specific cookie, I received many letters from mommies who were not too pleased with Santa. Why? I asked for gingerbread cookies, but they had to be German gingerbread cookies.
Oh.
And the children said, okay, Santa, and I looked up and I looked at the mommy, and she would look like, where am I going to get German gingerbread cookies from? And again, I emphasized they had to be German gingerbread, and I think mommy was not too pleased. So this year, I'm going to play a joke on them. I'm going to ask for cannoli cookies.
Ooh, those are, I know where to get the good cannolis.
Where at?
Well, you can go to Vesuvio's in North Riverside.
Yes.
You can go to Toronto's in Berwyn.
Berwyn, yes.
You can go to Domino's in Chicago. And Tony's even is in North Riverside is carrying them.
Mrs. Claus, if I have the time, on Christmas Eve, it's kind of rough.
We're going to talk cannolis and cookies and while they take off for a segment.
Okay.
And we're back.
Ta-da!
I snitched a cookie, Santa.
Just one?
Just one. Well, the cameraman
You have to tell Santa the truth.
Just one. I just took one, I promise. You know, and also when I was a little girl, we used to have a fireplace in our house.
Yes.
And then my parents covered up the fireplace. And I want to thank you for being clever enough to figure out how to get into the house on Christmas Eve. Because I cried, I thought you wouldn't be able to bring me anything.
Oh, no, no. As a matter of fact, even if the fireplace was, did you know a lot of European countries, France, Germany, Czechoslovakia, a lot of European countries, they have very, very narrow chimneys. And as you can see, I would have a very difficult time going down that chimney, even if I could fit. So what we do is, the parents on Christmas Eve, the children are sound asleep, put away, we'll leave the door unlocked, or sometimes even open if they see me coming, and that's how I gain entry into the residence to deliver the toys.
Oh, that's good, because I was really worried about it. But
so was I. I didn't want to get charged of residential burglary.
That's Santa. What a sense of humor. What are some of the unusual requests you've had, though, from kids?
In regards to toys and presents?
Toys or anything.
I'm surprised a lot of children do ask for animals. And I have to explain, most of them are girls who want dogs, puppies, cats, things of that nature. I don't have room in the sled for that. But there was a little boy here in Riverside, at the Riverside Bank, when he was on my lap, darling little boy, and he asked, or I rather asked him, what would you like for Christmas? What should I bring you? Because I can tell that you've been a very good boy. And do you know what he said to Santa? He said to me, Santa, what I would like for my present is peace in the world. I was flabbergasted for 8 seconds or so. I could not speak. Finally, I looked around with all the other children and parents. I looked at my elf, Vicky, female elf, by the way, and I said to her, all of them, this little boy is special. That's when I remember.
Oh,
very much. I'll never forget that one.
I think we'd all
Peace
like that.
in the world.
And it could start with us, can't it?
Yes, very much. It starts within the home family.
So, okay, you were at the Riverside Bank, and where are some of your other stops? I mean, I know that you're, excuse me, Santa. I know that you're all over the world, but name some places locally that you stop and make appearances.
Well, there are some libraries I do appearances, but this is before Christmas Eve, because I have to keep the children on their toes that they're good and not naughty. I do Brookfield Library. I'm doing the Chamber of Commerce here in Riverside. I do libraries in Oswego. I do North Aurora Library. And I even do the library all the way south in Worth, Illinois. And the children, no matter where I'm at, are very, very, very pleased to see me.
Well, of course they are, because Santa represents all things that are good.
Yes.
All things that are good.
Santa sends very good example.
So tell me a little bit more about these elves. Where do they come from?
Well, as I said, most of my elves are of Scandinavian, German, that part of Europe, because they can put up with the cold. They can tolerate the cold so much. I asked some of the Eskimos if they would like to be elves, and they said no, they're too busy hunting polar bears.
Aww.
So most of my elves have names like Fritz, Siegfried, names of that type, because they can put up with the cold more. They can accept the cold. They don't have as much padding like Santa has, but they like the cold.
Okay. And what about the reindeer? Who takes care of them?
The elves. I have special elves or specific elves that take care of my reindeer. My reindeer have special quarters, and they're taken care of like a prized horse. They have to be pampered, because don't forget, Christmas Eve is a very, very long night for them. Do you know who my reindeer are?
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Kuchen, Donner, Blitzen, and
what?
Rudolph.
And do you know who we have to thank for that? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
Had a very shiny nose.
Who's the one we have to thank for that?
I don't know.
Gene Autry.
Oh, that's,
Remember?
yes.
When you were a youngster, because I'm much older than you are, Gene Autry.
Who was a singing cowboy.
Yes, he was.
And had a program on TV.
Yes.
And he's the one who...
Really promoted that, yes, very much so.
How does his nose stay lit?
Well, it's not from drinking, I could tell you that.
Well, that's a good thing.
He is blessed. There are some things that Santa Claus cannot make public knowledge.
Okay.
Like a lot of children ask the same question. How come he can have a bright, shiny nose, red? And I tell the children when they're on my lap, there are some things that Santa Claus cannot tell you. Because if I told you, it wouldn't be the same if you knew.
Okay, so we'll just have to imagine the different reasons why. But
Yes.
he's always in front.
Yes, he is. He leads my reindeer.
How did the other reindeer treat him, though, when he first came there? There wasn't any bullying, was there?
No, we don't tolerate that at the North Pole. That is not tolerated. Most of the reindeer, they were a little jealous. They might kick a little bit here or push a little bit there, but I threatened them, or cautioned them rather, not threatened, but cautioned them, if they were naughty to Rudolph, they could not take me on my rounds on Christmas Eve. And before you know it, all my reindeer became best friends.
Well, that's good to hear. And what about the sleigh that they pull? Who takes care of that? I mean, are they up there now shining it and polishing it?
They're polishing it, they're shining it, it's clean, they're making extra room, and because I might have more toys this year than I anticipated. I haven't received that many letters yet from children addressed to the North Pole. It seems like they wait to the last minute, and then I get inundated with different letters and asking. But they take care of it, yes. But don't forget, I have more than one sled.
Well, you'd have to.
Yes. The sleigh, I have 3 or 4 of them.
Maybe some of them are emailing. Now, I know you don't use a computer, but
No,
the
I don't
elves
use a
do.
computer.
So maybe they're getting some of the emails.
Mrs. Claus was using the computer one day, receiving emails from mommies in regards to how do you make German gingerbread cookies. And I said, I'll send them a reply. Well, I touched this button, and it did something to the Knuten valve or the Gemeinschaft, and poof, there goes the computer. And Mrs. Claus was not happy with Santa Claus. So I said, to keep the peace, because we're right at Christmas season, maybe I better not touch the computer anymore.
Yeah. That's, you've got enough. You've got enough
Oh,
to
I have
do.
enough to do right
You don't
now.
need to worry about that. Okay, they're telling us to wrap it up again for this segment, and we'll talk through, and then we'll go into our last segment. And we're back. Santa, I want everybody to understand, you do not Facebook, you do not Twitter, you do not VTech, or any of that stuff. You're just an old-fashioned guy.
I'm an old-fashioned Santa Claus. I don't do any dancing or perform anything to that nature. I'm the old-fashioned Santa Claus that you were raised with back in the 1950s.
Ho, ho,
The
ho.
60s.
We'll just pass that one over, Santa.
Okay.
Okay, you know what? You were telling some cute stories. One being why your beard is not longer.
Well, one time, and it was at the Riverside bank, I had a little girl on my lap. And she kept looking at me rather curiously. She said, Santa, why isn't your beard longer? All the pictures I see, you have a long beard. And I told her what happened was I had to have my beard trimmed. Because if my beard becomes too long, and don't forget, I'm very, very high up there in that sleigh with the reins in my hands, and if my beard should come up and cover my eyes, I might go off course, and I could miss your house, and you might not get those toys.
That would not be a good thing.
And she understood that. Yes, very much so.
And also you told me a cute story about some of the questions that you get asked.
Yes. There was a little boy who asked me one time, Santa, where do the reindeer go if they have to use the toilet? I thought to myself, well, when you go on a trip with Mommy and Daddy, and if Daddy's driving his car, that would be comparable for me on my sleigh. Doesn't Daddy stop? We used to call a pit stop. Yes, and you can use what we used to call the restroom. Well, there's many times I can tell the reindeer will give me a signal that they have to use the restroom. So we find a location, and then the reindeer can use the restroom, and then we take off again to deliver the toys to the good little boys and girls.
Oh, well, I'm glad to know. I'm glad to know that. I mean, that was a burning question that people wanted to know. Inquiring minds
This little
wanted-
girl.
really
This little girl wanted to know.
Well, and I'm glad you told her the truth, and I'm glad I know now. Okay, it's after Christmas. The elves are back. The reindeer are back. The sleigh is put away. And what does Santa Claus do?
Relax. Relax. I just take it easy. I have a special, Santa Claus is a big man, and I have a special recliner built, and just come back with a cup of hot chocolate, and just sit back and savor the peace.
And about how long does that last before you have to start getting ready for the next Christmas?
We start preparing probably towards the end of July, starting to get things ready, because you can't put off to the last minute, because before you know it, it's time to get the sleigh going. It's time that the toys are all set in my sack, and it's time to get the reindeer hooked up to the sleigh, and off we go.
Good. And do you take a little vacation, you and Mrs. Claus?
Yes, we do.
And where do you go?
We go to a place that's very quiet, very warm. But Mrs. Claus and I have to be careful, because we're at the North Pole, and except for windburn or snowburn, we could become sunburned. And I've always been concerned about not getting sunburned, because I want to make sure that my health is good for Christmas time.
Oh, that's good.
Mrs. Claus sometimes wish I go on vacation the whole year, but unfortunately I don't.
While you're gone, that's why when she has her rest time?
Mrs. Claus never has any rest. She's always busy. She's either baking for the elves, getting things ready for Christmas, or in general. You know, there was a motion picture out a number of years ago called The Polar Express, and it was very, very Hollywoodized. Santa Claus does not live in a big mansion like that. I do not have a large number of elves. I have approximately 40 to 42 elves that help me. And my house is made a log cabin type house, which is very large, but nothing like that was in that movie. That was a Hollywoodized version of Santa Claus. The only way you're going to learn the truth about Santa is to speak to Santa.
Well,
Did you know that?
that's why I brought you here today.
Good. Any other questions I can help you with?
What does Santa like to eat?
Everything. Santa Claus is not a very, very choosy person. I always ask the children to change. Santa, can we leave something, cookies or something like that? And I never ask for the same thing. Last year I asked for German gingerbread cookies, which did not make a lot of mommies happy.
Well, what about vegetables? You know,
Vegetables?
like celery sticks?
Oh no, carrots.
Carrots?
So I can see at night, because you know we're traveling, a very high altitude.
Yeah.
A lot of carrots I eat, yes, because of the vitamins.
Well, that's a good thing. So now, when you leave this studio, and I think you were probably impressed. Have you ever been in a TV studio before, Santa?
Not like this, no.
Isn't this something?
Sure is, really is.
And I bet Mr. Prokes would have a Christmas list that he'd like for this studio.
We'd have to probably contact the elves that are in charge of the electronics for that.
Yeah, because you don't know that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
true.
What else would you like to tell me, Santa? What other things would you like everybody to know about Santa?
Well, the main thing is that the children have to be nice and not naughty. You know where I'm at. You know what my function is. It's Christmas time. And it's very important that when the children, there's one thing I did want to mention. It is very, very important that on Christmas Eve, the children do go to bed early, because I will not enter a residence to bring their gifts, toys, dolls, whatever, unless the children are fast asleep. Remember, it was the night before Christmas, and all through the house,
Not a creature was stirring.
not even a mouse. So the children have to be in bed early. And that makes the parents happy too.
Yeah. I know they were always telling us to go to bed, and I wanted to wait up and see if I could catch you, but I never did.
Somebody saw Santa Claus kissing Mommy one time.
Under the mistletoe, I bet.
Yes, that's true. But he still got his toys because he kept his mouth shut.
Good kid, huh? Have you ever had any kids come to you, Santa, that you just weren't too happy with?
I can tell if they're phony or not. I can tell if they're being sincere when they answer my question. Of course, in all honesty, anytime I have a child on my lap and I ask, have you been a good boy or a good girl? It's, oh yes. I look at the parents. And another thing is, the parents will say, oh, little Jenny could use a little more improvement in this field or that field, and the child usually agrees. But what about the academic grades if they're in school? And the obedience? Are they watching, taking care of their baby brother or sister? Little things of that nature, I always ask.
Yeah, and we have to remember the kids who can't come to see Santa.
Yes.
Maybe they're in the hospital, or maybe they're someplace where they can't afford to have toys.
Yes, I know what you're
And
saying.
there's lots of ways that we can help them. There's Toys for Tots. There's a few things here at your church or your villages.
What about dropping some coins in the
Salvation
Army?
I
They're
love
out now.
those bell ringers.
Yes.
Santa, they're giving me the wrap it up signal.
You mean a gift?
Don't I wish? And I do have my list in my purse over there, so we can talk about that after. And I want to thank you so much for coming to the show.
It's been my pleasure.
And would you like to give some kind of a greeting to everybody out there?
Well, I want to wish everybody a very peaceful, a blessed Merry Christmas. And I also want to wish everybody to have a very happy New Year. And above all, be considerate of your fellow man. peace on earth towards man.
Well said, Santa. And this is JoAnne Kosey saying, I'll see you again on another edition of Coffee with Kosey and in the Landmark newspaper. And peace and goodwill and happy holidays to all.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Santa.